Hey everyone, Genome here, coming at you with the next installment in my interview series where I talk to people who do interesting and or extraordinary things. You know, all throughout this series, I've been kind of going without the YouTube community, and I got to thinking the other day, I was doing a live stream, and it's like, well, that's just really hindering me. Why wouldn't I talk to some people that I talk to all the time? So there's a couple YouTubers out there who do pretty extraordinary work, and their sub count is definitely showing it. So I'm going to bring to you one of the OGs of the comics YouTube creator community. The man is rising with a meteoric rate. Definitely top three of all the channels I've seen. So today I'm going to be sitting down with none other than Comics with Bueller. Bueller, how are you doing this fine day?
I'm doing really good. I don't know if I've ever been referred to as an OG before, but I'll take it. You know, that's the first time for everything, right?
I mean, you're sitting down with the big wigs at the cons, and you're obviously getting noticed from from the big boys. And like I said, the way your sub count is shooting up, I think I started watching you at like 1K, and you're what 7.5 now, or just around that. So that's
You were before that. You actually entered my 300 subscriber contest.
was it? I thought I did one. It's been like a
You
year
did.
or two ago, something like that. But
Yeah, I remember. That was like with a little less than a couple of years ago. But yeah, you made a contest entry into my 300 subscriber. That was my very first contest.
man, talk about taking it back. But look how you progressed from there, right? So I haven't cracked 300 yet, but you're sailing right on along. So, but great. So we're gonna talk to you a little bit today, and we're gonna talk about not only the channel, but other stuff. Let's get to know the you. I mean, I'm not sure how much of that you put on your channel. I try to watch videos when I can, but I don't know if you're anything like me. It's hard to watch, man, sometimes when you're too busy creating content.
Yeah, I do kind of put myself out there. You know, there's a lot of, over 400 videos in less than a couple of years, and I think I kind of expose myself quite a bit more than I tend to sometimes, but that's just the type of guy I am. So any questions you got, I'm good to go. So.
All right, sounds good. We'll get into good ones. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I still have reservations about putting every aspect of my life on screen. But you kind of run out of material, so you got to start putting personal things out there sometimes. I don't know. It's the nature of the beast, I guess.
Well, the nice thing is there's new comics every Wednesday, so there's always a constant flow of stuff to talk about, so it's kind of good.
All right, so let's go ahead and start by why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my real name is Travis. I go by Bueller on the Comics with Bueller channel. I'm basically in my mid-40s, full midlife crisis mode on full display. I have two kids that are grown up. They're in their 20s and living their life. And I just started to collect comic books again after like a 20-year hiatus. And now about a little over 2 years, totally back into comic books. And really that's it. I mean, it's not tremendously exciting, but I'm having a really good time at this point in my life, and I'm glad I'm doing it, to say the least. So that's it. That's me.
Yeah, man, it's real similar. Like I'm really not too much into the game right now, but I've been out of the game since basically '93 or '4. I was collecting really hardcore all through the mid to late '80s and the early '90s, and I got out right before the crash. But so it's weird. I actually got back into comics because of a YouTube contest like a year and a half ago. So,
oh, no, was it mine? I don't know.
It was probably one of those. I remember it was a contest. It was asking you like your 5 favorite comic book characters or superheroes, something like that, and then that just got all the ball rolling. And I started looking at YouTube, and I started seeing channels pop up, and then I dug into my old collection, which I hadn't looked in years, and so now the fires are burning again. So you know how that goes.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Very cool.
Where did you grow up? What area of the country did you grow up in?
Actually, right here. That's the thing. It's I live in Oregon, right outside of Portland, Oregon. And I pretty much lived here almost my whole life. I mean, I've lived up in Washington a little bit and outside of the big city of Portland that we consider that our big city. But if you've probably seen one of my original videos was where I got my childhood spinner rack back. And from the old house I grew up in. That house is literally less than 3 miles away from where I live now. So I've always kind of been in the same neighborhood. Even though I moved away to Washington for a short period of time, I came back, lived down in Salem, which is an hour or so away for a while, came back. So right here, good old Portland, Oregon, born and raised. That's pretty much it.
So you've been in Northwestern your whole life, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I've only been out to Seattle before, but I've never been up to Portland before.
Well, you were just over here not too long ago, and you could have came on over, but no, you stopped right on the border. It sounds like when you did your trip.
Yeah, Idaho is about as close as I got in northern Nevada. It was something. We wanted to go everywhere. I actually wanted to go to California, but we were just running out of time. It's like we don't got time to go see Sequoia, nothing like that. So
Yeah,
we got to go. But my wife was always wanting to go up that way, up Northwestern, and see Puget Sound and all those lovely scenes you have up there. But
it's a beautiful place. I mean, it's just a lot of mountains and trees and forest, and the city's there as well. So I mean, we're pretty lucky where we're at, I guess. And I mean, I've driven across the United States and looked at other places. I've enjoyed them, but I wouldn't want to live there, type thing.
hmm
Like this is a place I really enjoy, living, type thing. So
no sense messing
no
with a
reason
good
to
thing.
yeah.
So, what age did you start collecting, or when did you really start collecting comics?
Well, I always just kind of bought comics with my allowance I would get on a weekly basis. I remember I used to get $2, I think $2.50, and I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I'd get on my bike and I'd ride my bike up to the local drugstore or whatnot and buy a one of those little free packs of comics. They're in the plastic bag, and I'd get that. I'd get a whatchamacallit candy bar and a soda pop. I think it was like Dr. Pepper or one of the local soda pop shops would have them. And that would be my whole allowance. And I did that for years until I got maybe 10 or 11 years old. And then I went to my first comic shop, and that changed everything from that point on.
Example.
So it went from just being I just wanted something to read when I was a little kid, to seeing all these books on the wall at a shop, and I was hooked right there.
Yeah, people, especially if you're a newer collector, you don't know like how ubiquitous comics were. They were everywhere. You go into a drugstore, they were there. You go into a convenience store, there'd be a few on the rack. You go into a grocery store, there's lots of them in there usually on the spinner. So it was like a feast for the eyes and hands, but you don't really see that anymore. So you're kind of missing out on that. I mean, now it's all.
Do you remember the ones in the 3 bags, or the and I'd always peek to try to see the middle comic to make sure I didn't have it already. I'd sit there and pretty much destroy almost all those bags, sitting there trying to see what the middle one was. It was always West Coast Avengers. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it was West Coast Avengers.
My very first comic was a West Coast Avengers, and I got it in an Easter egg. It was a giant plastic Easter egg. It had some stuff in it, and that was the first. I still have it. I did a video on it not too long ago, but yeah, it was weird how they always put West Coast Avengers, and they always put a good cover on the front too to try to sell those packs.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be something valuable, and then it'd be some garbage in the middle or in between. But
I love those things. I love them.
yeah, I mean now everything's one click away, but they just don't know the beauty that it was back then.
I didn't have enough money. I was really into G.I. Joe figures, and I didn't have enough money to buy a figure. The figures were like $2.65, so I was 15 cents short. So I just decided to go with the comic books and a candy bar and a soda pop, and that was it.
So, what age did you kind of start collecting seriously? When you started having your own money to work with and were getting stuff of actual value?
Pretty quickly after that, like 12 or 13, I was actually like, okay, I'm really liking this. I discovered what bags and boards were, around that time, and started, taking care of my books. And, I would always look in, and you probably remember this as well, the inserts, the Mile High Comics inserts in the middle of the books used to always have prices of books that they would sell. And I used to, at that time, use that as a price guide. And then somebody told me, hey, look for the books that don't have a barcode on them or something like that. And I remember just hunting for books that don't have barcodes because it means they're older or something like that. So that's what I did. And, as the time went on, I got more familiar with like a local shop that was selling baseball cards, and then they wanted to do comic books. And so I kind of befriended the owner, and he kind of, as a little kid, he's like, oh, why don't you come around and help me sort some cards? And then I knew about comics, and people would bring them in, and he'd be like, oh, tell them what they're worth or whatnot, and then give them a few dollars for them, and then you can pick out whatever you want, type thing. And so that's kind of when I started getting like a mass amount of books. Just the guy owning the shop, he wasn't really into comics. He was more into the sports cards. And so I had free pick at what came in, and that made a huge difference.
Yeah, I was a huge sports card collector too, more so than probably comic books, especially back then. And it was pretty cool because a lot of the shops would be, they do double duty, like you said. There would be,
Yeah.
one section just to that and the other section to comics.
Yep.
And it was cool you mentioned that because there was one LCS I used to go to when I was really young, probably about 11 or 12, and they were an older couple, and they used to let me organize the shelves. And every now and then they gave me a couple of rack issues. I remember I got a couple of earlier X-Men's. I think I got the first Jubilee and the first Gambit that way, just off the
Yeah.
rack by cleaning up the store for them.
What the hell kind of an analogy is that?
So just estimation, what do you think the size of your collection is nowadays?
It's a fraction of what it was about a year ago. Honestly, it's, when I started collecting, again, just about a little over 2 years ago, I was buying mass quantities. And up until that point, I mainly had maybe a long box full of comics because I hadn't collected in like 20 years. And just stuff I picked up here and there, garage sale. I didn't really think anything of it. And then when I got back into collecting, I went full bore and just started buying tons of stuff. You'd find them all around my area for quarter or 50 cents or $1 books, that are pretty decent books. So it ballooned up really fast and to around, 15 to 20,000 comics within a year and a half. And then you're aware I sold those Bueller boxes. And I've literally sold off about 70% of my collection because of those boxes. It's something like 15,000 comics have been gone out my front door because of selling those Bueller boxes type thing. So it's like my buddy Sam, who you probably know, Sam Stingle Webb. He came over. He's been over to my house before I started selling them. And he's like, "Man, your collection is huge." And he sees it now. And he's like, "That's it?" I go, "Yeah, man." I go, "That's it. That's all it's like." There's literally a bedroom. My spare bedroom at my house is literally just full of empty long and short boxes, just like 30 of them, just sitting there empty. I try to get Sam to take them, but he won't take old ones. He wants to new ones. I don't know. Give me a plate.
It's kind of funny the progression. You go from almost nothing to basically having your own personal LCS store, and then you're back down to just the basics. Just what you want.
I pretty much have to stop selling the Bueller boxes because I've sold all the books. It's like I knew it would get to that point if they kept selling like they did, and they did. And I'm looking right now. I have like a separate section of books for Bueller boxes. And there's literally less than 2 short boxes of comics that are left. And honestly, out of those 2 short ones, as far as, decent books I would put in there, I could probably only make like 5 to 10 boxes at the most. So I got to take a break and resupply my books.
So I don't know, and stop me if you're wrong. If I'm wrong, this seems to become what you're doing. I've noticed a lot of the community in the last year has kind of eschewed buying newer stuff, and they're getting rid of a lot of their back issues that they don't really hold that dear, and they're saving up for grails. Is that kind of the direction you're going in right now?
I don't spend a lot of money on grails. I don't like spending a lot of money, period, on books. I mean, the most I've spent on the most actual physical dollar amount I've spent on a book in the last 2 years is maybe $60. And that was the first appearance of Gambit, the X-Men book, 266, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was literally just trying to finish up my run between 150 and 300, and that was the last book on the list. So I just pulled the trigger and bought a lower grade copy of it and spent $60. As far as the Grail books I have in my collection, the ones I have are basically ones that people have sent to me as gifts, and those are very important to me to have. But I'm a cheap guy. Yeah, I don't like paying more than cover price. I don't like paying even if it's a variant. If they mark it up at the store a couple bucks, I won't buy it. Even the cardstock variants for like the DC stuff that they did, that they made them $1 more, I won't buy them because I can get the same book for $1 less. So I'm very frugal when it comes to spending money on books. I mean, I'm always buying stuff for 50 cents or less than cover or $1 type thing, and I just don't see myself spending a big dollar amount on books like that. Maybe maybe it changes down the road. I don't know. But that's just kind of how I am.
Yeah, me, myself, as being an old collector, I can't even get past the fact that they're charging $4 for an issue now. So I won't pay that kind of price, for cover price. But
I do buy more new stuff now than I've found myself enjoying new stuff more so than older issues, just because I'll find some back issue. I'll be like, I had this at one time, and I had the experience at one time when I got it. I enjoy the fact I go to the comic shop on Wednesday and there's some brand new books I've never seen before on the shelf, and that just kind of reminds me of when I was young doing the same thing. And so I'm enjoying my collection, being a newer one, fully aware that, 19 out of 20 of them aren't going to be worth the paper they're printed on, which is fine. But, I just enjoy getting new stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Well, there's intrinsic value of going in, walk into a place, and handing cash over for something you carry out in a bag or in your hand. So I completely understand that. So can you tell me, do you have 5 favorite overall books in your collection that you
I do. They're actually right behind me. So obviously I have this great wall that I normally put books up with some of my favorites. You can see the Secret Wars set behind me. And if you look right here, this is the first
129,
129, first Punisher. This is Spider-Man #1. This is autographed by Tom McFarlane. X-Men 94. That's one of the first new team in the regular series. And then if you look over here, I have the first Hulk 181, first Wolverine. And then right next to it is my very first comic that I ever got at a comic shop. My mom bought it for me, which is Contest Champions #1. So those are my favorite 5 books in my collection that will stay with me forever. So.
Well, you got some good selections there. Do you tend to read all the comics that you get, or do you just kind of bag them and
I leave
them?
that. My buddy Sam, he reads all his books, so he does that. I just ask him, "What'd you think?" or "What happened?" He tells me. So, I've been reading more stuff lately, and the stuff I read lately are more independent titles. Just I find them easier to read because you don't have to know any backstory or any of the continuity because they're standalone stories type thing. Perfect example was I haven't really read Thor, and then I read the King Thor book that just came out. Issue 2 just hit last week, and issue 1 was last month. I picked up issue 1 and I read it. I didn't have any idea what they were referencing or talking about, and it didn't interest me because I was like, man, if I want to know what they're talking about, I'm going to have to go back and read a whole bunch of other books to just get caught up. To where an independent title, a brand new one, that comes out, you don't have to have any backstory. It's all contained. I'm enjoying those a little bit more right now when I'm reading books.
I mean, it makes sense, especially when characters are going back as far as Thor. How far do you go back for different retcons and different writers? And are we talking Jane Foster, or are we talking the original Thor? No. So it does get those waters run deep, as they say. Have you ever read a comic book that kind of just moved you emotionally? I recently did a review of, I think it was Amazing Spider-Man 248, Boy Who Collects Spider-Man. And that one kind of hits you right in the feels. Didn't see it coming. It kind of broadsides you right there on the ending page. Have you read a comic book like that kind of just made you think about it a little bit more later on?
Well, I read last week the Incredible Hulk #1 facsimile came out. And it's a facsimile of the original Incredible Hulk issue that came out many, many years ago. I've never actually read that book before. And I had this preconceived notion of my version of the Hulk. I grew up on the TV show where, you won't like me when I'm angry type thing, and that's why he turns into the Hulk. And then I read the original comic because I picked up that facsimile, and I was so surprised that my belief how the Hulk came to be was so much different as far as that first issue. I didn't realize that Hulk would only turn into the Hulk at night. As soon as the sun goes down, he turns into the Hulk. As soon as the sun comes out, he goes back to Bruce Banner. That was in the original Incredible Hulk #1. They've since adopted that into the Immortal Hulk storyline, which is, obviously 50, 60 years later type thing. But I didn't know that. I didn't have any idea that was based on, when the sun came up or went down. And then I also noticed, reading that issue, is that he was aware of what was going on. He was he knew his name was Bruce Banner. He knew where he lived. He felt remorse for the kid that he saved or whatnot. He went to go and try to find a cure while he's the Hulk. He wasn't just some raging monster that was just tearing things apart. And I was kind of caught off guard because that's not what I thought the Hulk was. You know, like I said, I watched the TV show, and the TV show is Bruce Banner gets angry and he turns into the Hulk. And that's what I thought the story was. And it comes to figure out that's not the premise of it at all. So that's kind of something that kind of intrigued me quite a bit and actually makes me want to go back and read some of those facsimiles that are coming out. And just because there's so many probably preconceived notions on these characters that have changed over the years that I just didn't realize. So it was a good read. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I was really used to get used to reading like the Savage Hulk of the 70s and the mid 80s, and it's like, yeah, he's completely mindless. There's not really much recognition of Bruce Banner at all, and he's sure not conducting science experiments, in that form. Yeah. And they kind of revisited the Night Hulk with the Gray Hulk, Mr. Fix-It, and all that. So yeah, it was kind of interesting to see how the character was originally written like that. So speaking of number ones, I got a hypothetical here for you. So if you could create your own one-shot comic book, who would you want to do the pencils and who would you want to do the writing if you didn't write it yourself?
Well, I couldn't write it. I can tell you that right now. I couldn't draw it either, so it wouldn't be me. It's a good question, and honestly, I think that there's a couple combinations of writers and artists that I think they've already worked together, would already fall in that category of my favorite type thing. Big X-Men fan. Chris Claremont, probably my favorite writer of all time. And honestly, you stick Jim Lee and his work on X-Men, his artwork, it goes hand in hand with X-Men characters, man. And you stick those two people together, they work together, they did many issues of the X-Men together. I think that's a match made in heaven. Also, John Byrne and Chris Claremont, also another great 1-2 punch. They work together on many X-Men titles. And I think we're pretty lucky to have those names work together like they did. And so I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, if I had to pick again right now, it would definitely be Chris Claremont writing me a book. And then the artwork, as much as I'm a huge Tom McFarlane fan, sometimes he drew the X-Men kind of funny looking. And so I would have to go with Jim Lee or John Byrne drawing my X-Men. And it's great because, like I said, they've all worked together before, so those books are out there.
All right, that's some good answers, man. And of course, I was back during the heyday, so all the biggest names were out there working together a lot.
Yeah.
Grant and Zek and all that, and Beatty all worked together real well too. So there's so many good runs. But yeah, great, cool choices, man. So we won't be talking too much more on the comics, but for the newer person collecting, just getting started, do you think this is a good hobby for a newbie, for someone who's never really been in any kind of collecting before, or would you recommend something else for them?
There's two answers to that question. If you're going into this hobby for investment purposes, it's probably one of the worst hobbies you can get involved in. And maybe that's not a popular opinion, but I don't know of any conversation you would have with your children and say to your children, hey, if you want to invest in something, go buy comic books. I don't think that conversation ever comes up. But the main reason I say that is because, as you know, and you're a collector, we get very attached to our books. And it's very hard to sell a lot of these books. There's a very small percentage of people who don't get that attachment to books and just flip and sell type thing. It's a very hard thing to do. And 9 times out of 10, even the people who do that end up just going and buying more books for their collection if it funds itself. So as far as an investment type thing goes, it's probably one of the worst to put money in. If you were going to put money in something, in metals or like coins or whatnot, at least they always have a value. If you go and you buy a silver coin or whatnot, it always has a value. If you go and buy Iceman #2 and think it's going to be worth something a year later, it's not. It's worth a nickel type thing. But at least if you spent that money on a coin, it's always got somewhat of a value to it. As far as would I recommend it to someone for a hobby to enjoy it and to have fun, it's one of the best. It's literally one of the best. It's the worst as far as investment because of the things I just talked about. But as far as fun and enjoyment, I think it's one of the best because it's brought me tremendous years of enjoyment. It's made it able so I can make friends all over the world that enjoy comics. And it's all the stuff that kind of goes with it. You know, like my friend Bob texted me today. He's like, what'd you read this week? And we're just swapping stories, what we read type thing. Oh, did you like this? Did you like that? No, I like that one. I like that one. And it's that interaction. That's what I get from this hobby. It's the interaction. It's the new books every Wednesday. It's the people I meet and just some great artwork and great stories. Because who doesn't like superheroes or, you know, just kind of off-the-wall thinking type thing. Some of the ideas that they come up with are just amazing. And if you're looking for a fun, enjoyable hobby, this is definitely it. If you're looking to make some money, this is not it.
Yeah. Don't feel bad, man. It may not be a popular sentiment, but I think it's a really true one. At least it was in my experience, because I dumped a lot of money into comics, and we were all going to get rich on it. You know, I grew up in the age of the speculator, and you know, you buy something off the stand, and 2 months later, it'd be $30, like a McFarlane cover. It was insane. We didn't know we were living in a bubble, but I tell the story all the time, and I hope I'm not running it to death, but I've been out of comics for like 10 or 12 years. I went into this LCS just randomly. When they were looking around, they had a lot of back issues, and I found Punisher War Journals like number 6 and 7, the first Punisher Wolverine fight, right? That was a $25 comic back when I was collecting. It was so hard to get. The thing was like cover price. It was like $3. I thought I was ripping the guy off. He's like handing it back. Oh, yeah, these used to be pretty good. I went home, looked it up on eBay. I was like, yeah, that's all they're worth now. So all the riches I thought I had in my long boxes back home sure didn't. It didn't pan out. So
yeah, I think, you know, I'm kind of the same thing. I'm like, last week or the week before, there was that one Marvel Comics that came out by IDW, and they put out that kids book. You know, it was that variant cover that had Venom on it. It sold for like $100, and I found it. I bought it for $3, less than cover price.
Yeah, I saw that video.
I sold it that week. I was like, I gotta get rid of it, type thing, because I know it's gonna drop. But then I look and I say, well, I bought about 30 other books that were $4 a piece, and none of those are going to be worth anything. Type thing.
I only made 70 or 65.
Yeah, they cancel each other out. So people always tend to look and say, oh, yeah, well, I bought this book and I sold it and made a bunch of money, but they don't tell you about the other 15 or 20 books that they bought that are going to be in the dollar bins next month, type thing.
Oh, goodness gracious. So, kind of working a little bit out of comics, but still in the comics. So what is your opinion right now of, like, the MCU, the DCU, the TV shows that have to do with comic books? Do you think these are good or bad for the hobby?
I don't think they go together. I don't think that for one, I love them. I love the TV shows, the movies, all that stuff. But I don't think it translates into sales as far as comic books. The sales did not go up for Black Panther in comics when that movie came out. It was the #1 movie for like the whole year or whatever it was, type of thing. They don't really translate. All it does is it just brings the characters to the forefront and people know about them. Now, whether they want to go and buy a comic because of that, 9 times out of 10 they don't. They want to go buy a T-shirt that has Captain America or Punisher or whatever on there instead. So I don't think it affects the comics. That being said, I think the comics affect the comics. And a good example is like this that just came out that like October was like the best-selling month of comics in like the last 3 years because of X-Men, and that's purely driven by great stories that Hickman did for the House of X or Power, whatever they're called, and then that translated into more and more people buying the books type thing. So, like I said, I don't think the movies really reflect that because obviously there's not really an X-Men movie going on right now. That's all pure story-driven that drove more people into the shops to say, hey, what's going on with the X-Men? I heard they're under a new writer type thing. I wish that the movies did. I think the movies, for the most part, just kind of, they spark the speculation bug, but that speculation bug is really within people that already collect, and I've never really understood that type thing. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are getting on board. Oh, I watched that new Endgame movie, and I want to go get a book that has Hulk wearing the gauntlet or whatnot. I just don't see that happening. I think that all the speculation, for the most part, are within the community of the people that already collect the books, and they're just looking at the ones they already have and like, man, I hope this is referenced in the movie type thing.
Yeah, I kind of agree that too because I got a lot of friends who are really big into the MCU movies or whatever, and at the most they'll do is they'll get on like their phones or whatever and go look at the digital copy real fast, on the free site somewhere just to read up.
Yeah.
So they want spoilers of what they're looking for. They don't even care about reading about the backstory. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting dynamic there. It didn't. I thought maybe it would start pushing up sales, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's more like insider trading because it's just everyone gets excited about the specs and they start selling to each other, trying to outspec each other. Okay.
It's pretty much whoever left holding the bag type thing is what it is, and you just don't want to be the last guy holding the bag. So.
Well, so speaking of bag, we'll bag comics for a little while, but we'll get into something a little bit similar. So, what got you started? What voice said, "Hey, I need to get on YouTube and start doing comic related stuff"?
Just I watched a couple videos, and I watched this. Because I went into a shop and I found that my buddy told me about this shop, and I hadn't really been in a comic shop for many years, and I went in there and saw all these books that I used to collect, and I bought them. This was just a couple years ago, and then I went home and I bought like $20 worth of books, and I was flipping through them, and I was literally like, wonder if there's anything on YouTube about comic books. And I literally just typed in comic books on YouTube, and some things popped up, and I just started watching videos, and they were, for the most part, just people showing what books they have. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I was like, you know what? I'll go buy some more books. And I got this little iPod or not an iPad. I'll shoot a video type thing. I'll just put it on. I've never done anything. I don't know what made me want to do it. It doesn't make any sense. But I just did it and put it on there. And I really didn't even know what I was talking about. I literally just, oh yeah, look at these books I got. I had no idea what they were. I literally was like, it says X-Men on it. I have no idea what it's about in the story. That doesn't look like Wolverine on the front. Who's that guy type thing? But I just made a video and put it out there, and I did like 3 or 4 videos. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun, and a few people watched them, and then I wasn't in front of the camera. It was just me showing a book in front. I tried to make something look kind of nice, a little back display, and show a book. Hey, I got this for $1 or 50 cents. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of boring. After like the 3rd or 4th video. And I'm like, but the one thing I noticed from the 20 years so that I didn't collect, there was all these differences and kind of things that bugged me. And I was like, you know what? I want to make a video about pet peeves about comic books. Because it's different from in the 90s than it is right now. And so I literally said, okay, I'll step in front of the camera and I'll talk about the pet peeves that I've noticed. And that'll be my last video. That's I'll be done. And a bunch of people watched it, and a bunch of people left comments on it, and some other people found it and they shared it, or they talked about it, or shouted me out and stuff. And that was it. That's all it took right there. I was kind of encouraged to make more stuff, and very shortly after that, I got invited to cover a Comic-Con. I filled out some form on Wizard World. And I pretty much, I don't know how I found myself on the press page for Wizard World, but I did, and I just filled it out, and it got down to the part, and it asked, why should we have you cover a con? And I wrote this sad message type thing that was just like my dog died, my wife left me, like this sad country song or whatnot.
Are you kidding?
To where literally you would have to be the biggest jerk in the world to say no after what I wrote. And they said yes, and they said, come on and cover the con. And then that's when I sat down. It's like, man, this is like a month away. I need to get serious and get a new camera, new microphone, and really, if I want to do this, I'll either sink or swim right here. And that was it. That was literally about 3 months into it, and that's the time I just kind of flipped the switch and decided just to go for it.
Well, it's obviously working for you. Other than some new equipment, what else has changed about your channel itself? Just different shows, different formats. What's really, how has your channel progressed since the early days?
Well, obviously going in front of the camera, that was the main thing. I wasn't doing in the very beginning. I wasn't. And now I'm always in front of the camera. The main thing I've noticed, I sat down and I said, I want to provide information to people that they could use if they're a new collector or maybe even an existing collector. And so I would just go and watch videos and look at things like, okay, what is not being provided that maybe I can provide? And at the time, and this is just a couple of years ago, I act like it's a long time ago. It's not. Like I said, mainly all the videos were just haul videos, and they were showing books and stuff like that they bought. That was like 99% of the stuff that was going on. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can do something a little bit different. Maybe I can do a something more entertaining, like a comics with people who hate comics. That was one of my early ones that I did. I did like 5 episodes of that, and that was kind of fun. You know, it was kind of different, and it was literally me with my nephew sitting next to me who hates comics. I said, just sit there and look like you're miserable.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
He's like, I do that all the time. I go, I know you do. That's why I picked you to do it. And so we did a few of those, and then I got into, well, maybe I could do a new release video, like a weekly new release video. And so I did that, and at first I was just doing physical copies because the comic shop would let me go in on Tuesdays and film them. And then I realized, and this is totally true, I didn't realize there were so many variants for comics because he just never ordered them. And there was no videos on YouTube showing the variants type thing that were coming out. And then I go onto this one website and I find 7 different copies of this book that I had no idea had 7 copies of it.
No, there is another.
And I was like, why isn't people showing all these books? And I went to the comic shop. I said, I don't need you anymore. I'm going to start doing the digital version. And I'm going to pull all these images and put this video together every week that has every single variant, whether it's a store exclusive or an artist exclusive. It's going to show every one of them, at least from the major DC, Marvel, and Image people or whatnot. And that was kind of it. Once that video started rolling, every week it goes from a couple hundred views to 500 to 1,000 to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views. So every week on a constant rotation of that video, it just grew my channel. I mean, I can go and I can look at each one of them, and each one at that time, you can see who subscribed to the channel during that video. Here's 100 new subscribers for this one. Here's another 200 brand new subscribers from that video type thing. And then it just kind of rolled from there. I was like, okay, I have a weekly series that people want to watch. Now let me think about some other stuff I can do that's different. You know, I tried doing speculation videos. I just wasn't very good at them. I'm not lying. I literally just went to a comic shop and said, do you have any books with first appearances on them? He's like, yeah, here's some. I go, great. Can I have 10 of them? I'm just going to shoot a video right here. Is that okay? He's like, sure. And I literally just shot 10 books that had first appearances on it and called it a speculation video. I had no idea.
You were the chosen one.
I'm not trying. I'm being totally honest. And but I was like, you know, I'll just put something out there and see what happens. And then all of a sudden, one of those videos hits an algorithm and it's got 15,000 views. Whoa! I was like, oh, great, you know. And but then I was like, I don't want to do those anymore because I'm not good at it. I'm not a good speculator, but I want to do something that will provide value. So I was like, oh, maybe I just do a video where I just do the keys from a certain run of books. And so I did a video with Wolverine, and it was basically breaking down the Wolverine series and every single key that's in that run. So like 30 books. It's not a speculation video. It's just a video providing you information about those books in that run. And that was very popular. That got like 9,000 views. And so I just kind of noticed that information videos really do make a difference. And information videos that are not time-based, like like that Wolverine video, people still watch it today. It's a year old. It still gets a couple hundred views a month type thing because people can watch it whenever they want. It doesn't have anything to do with time or this week's hottest stuff or the top 10 hot books right now. They're ongoing. So I'm trying to do more stuff like that now. And I think that's the key, making videos that are good today and they're good a year from now as well.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about that kind of thing. Like, I watched your Punisher one, of course, when you went through the Punisher keys. That was a great one. Those are timeless because the person is always going to like Wolverine, but my 1 year, Mara might be hot, for 2 months. Is like, do I need to go through that? And that's going to date it. Once the speculation's over, no one's going to look at this video again. So, yeah, makes sense to me. So I would probably place you within the big three of the comics creators out there with, JLS and Reggie and yourself. And I think you guys have the fastest growing channels. Well, why do you think, if you can even answer that, why do you think that yours is one of the big three? Why do you think that your channel is so popular?
I think I take a lot of pride in my videos. And one thing, you referenced JLS, and I've really enjoyed some of the stuff he's doing. And he's been doing some G.I. Joe stuff. And it's not really comic book based. It's more character based on G.I. Joe characters. I don't know if you've watched any of those. But those have really helped grow his channel. And those are timeless videos. Those are just ones that people can watch, because he's referencing characters from 20, 30 years ago. He's like just doing the history of Serpentor, or history of the Cobra Commander. And they're getting tens of thousands of views. Great stuff. I told him many times I really enjoyed them. Reggie does a great job with his channel, with just providing information, collecting tips. But the one thing I look at Reggie, and the one thing, Reggie's a good friend of mine. A lot of times I have trouble telling his videos apart because they're very similar. Reggie is there in front of the camera, and what really gets people with Reggie is his screen presence. He knows what works, and what works is him sitting in front of that camera, just him, and you focus on him. If you watch my videos, I'm not the focus. I'm not as pleasant to look at as Reggie.
I feel your pain there.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the background, or graphics, or things nice, bright, and shiny, and there's things flying in left and right, and there's a lot of bells and whistles that go into my videos. And I was talking to my buddy, and I was like, go watch one of my videos and then just go and try to find a video similar to it and compare the difference. Just as far as like quality, and I'm not talking about I'm talking about quality as far as like lighting and color and focus and the stuff like that. Having the presentation on the screen look good type thing. Not the words that are being said, but the presentation itself. And that's all the stuff that I can control. I can control the presentation. I can control the graphics and how that looks. I can't control the dumb things I say because I do that all the time. We always stick our foot in the mouth. But I can control all that other stuff. So I take a lot of pride in, making them look good and easy to watch. And I think that has the appeal. I have a lot of people say to me, man, your videos are like the best looking videos I've seen. I literally have when the little subscribe button pops up on my screen, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's actually a little graphic of me pointing to this. Nobody has that. Nobody has it. It's just something I made one day. I was like, man, how can I make my subscriber button look different? And that's kind of how I feel. I want to make all my videos stand out. I use a different background on every one of my videos, so you can tell which video it is just by the background. You can tell if you're watching one of my copy videos because it's a different background. You can tell if you're watching my new release video because it's all green screen. You can tell if it's a haul video because I use this wall. My top 10 video, I use a separate wall. And, a lot of stuff like that, I just kind of go into there. And I think they look good. I'm pretty proud of some of the stuff I put out.
Yeah, they do look good. And that's a great idea for those who do a lot of YouTube things, because it can get old looking at the same wall all the time. I know when I do my movie reviews, I use a green screen, and I have a totally different studio setup for that, so that looks different. And most of the time I have this behind me, but for the live stuff and all. But yeah, so it's really important. Do you do all your own editing and making your own thumbnails and all that?
Yeah, that's all me. Nobody wants to help me.
It's pretty impressive. You do good work, man. Your thumbnails especially, they really pop. They're all different, and they all stand out as well.
Yellow is the key. Always use yellow lettering. If you look at every one of my thumbnails, 9 out of 10 of them will always have yellow lettering. That's the one color that pops. I researched that to see if it worked.
Like all the text that I use in my videos, if I have something pop up on the screen, it's always yellow. I hate yellow. I do not like the color yellow at all. But it's the only one that does. It's vibrant by itself. How many hours a week do you think you spend on making videos between editing, shooting, and publishing?
It's more than a full-time job. It's easily more than 40 hours a week, I would say. Just taking the new comic book day video, the one I do every week, probably takes about 10 hours just to do that one video type thing. And when you take in the fact, I'm not talking about just shooting the camera. I'm talking about I got to go research the books. I got to go find them. I got to go download the images. I got to go find out the information for all these covers, write them all down, and get all the things out. And then I come to the part where I actually film it. It's the research that goes into it that probably takes a little bit longer, because as filming goes on, I've found shortcuts how to do things a little faster. I'm better at doing it, but the research does take quite a bit of time. Like I did the eBay versus Overstreet video, and I've done a few of those, and the first one got like 6,000 views. The research I had to do to go find all those books, the prices, how much they're selling for, put them all together, and all the information, that took way longer than it did for me to film it. It took me like 10 minutes to film it, and then it took hours and hours to edit it and hours to get the information. So
yeah,
it's a lot of work.
I don't think you really realize that sometimes. Like I already got a full-time job as it is, and then like if I do a movie review, that's 8 to 10 hours easily, maybe more, because I usually got to watch the movie again to refresh myself, and then I go in there, pull clips, I pull pictures, I pull information. Then I shoot the video, then I out green screen myself and worry about backgrounds, and then you worry about thumbnails. So it's a huge thing, and you put out a lot of regular content. So, see, my studio is failing me here, but let me get that fixed up. But yeah, man, so I don't think people get appreciation for how much work that people like you have to put into their channel. So kudos to you, sir. So how much do you think that a new person getting into YouTube should spend, or how much do you think it should cost them to just get started on a channel, if that makes sense, between camera, mic, software, that sort of thing?
Well, I think that the two of the main things are just lighting and your microphone. And right now I don't have my microphone plugged in. I don't know, it's not even hooked up or whatnot. But whenever I film my videos, the pre-recorded videos, I always have a microphone. Sound quality makes a huge difference. So definitely go out and buy yourself a microphone. I mean, whether it's even a $20 lapel mic makes a huge difference. You don't always have to go out and buy the blue Yeti mic or whatnot. I've had one of those for like $130. It broke like within a couple months. Yeah, exactly. But that and lighting makes a big difference. I mean, literally, I look at my setup right now. I have my lights set up, and I think my lighting cost me about $80. I order it off Amazon. My webcam I'm using for this costs like $50. It's a decent webcam. I don't do a lot of live streams on my regular channel, so I really haven't invested too much into it. And my camera I use is a camcorder. And the camcorder I got, it's actually my dad gave it to me type thing. He bought it a few years back, and it's a decent camera, but it's not. I think I'm one of the only ones that actually uses like a camcorder. Most people use like a camera, like a photo camera or whatnot, or a phone or something. And I think that's what makes my videos kind of have that soap opera look to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the sepia tone.
Yeah. And I actually like that. I think it goes very well with the comic books type thing. But literally my camera that I have, that I've used for 99% of my videos, except for like the first 10 videos that came out, you can buy it on eBay right now. My uncle just bought one for $50, and it's a great camera. And I've used that to the cons I've gone to, for all the interviews I've done, all the stuff I shoot in my house, the green screen. It's all just that one camera.
Yeah, I got a few. My camcorder, my earlier stuff was on camcorder, and I still use it for B-roll. But I have a DSLR for my main camera. I got the webcam here. I have way too much equipment. I went hog wild with it. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that, hey, if you have an interest in getting on YouTube, you don't have to break the bank. I'd say for $200 or less, you can get on there and go hog wild and create some great looking content. But so
I think you're right. I think and honestly, the people's phones now have great quality on their phones. I mean, they're shooting full length movies on cell phones now that look awesome. So I mean, if you have a phone, a decent phone, use that as your camera, and just get a little lapel mic and you're off and running. But lighting is very important. One thing I learned, because I'm very pale, and lighting, and then also, I do a lot of color touch-up when I do the editing and stuff, and the saturation of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I really try to make things pop off the screen. My eyes are not this blue, but they are after I get done editing them, so.
Well, all right. So getting away from YouTube a little bit, what do you do for fun? What's a fun day for you? Just getting all YouTube videos aside and comics. What else do you like to do out there?
Well, like you, and I know this because I've watched some of your older videos. I've never been a fan of the Hearthstone?
Oh, Hearthstone, yeah, yeah.
Hearthstone, yeah. I used to watch some of those. I watched your videos. I was like, what is he playing? I couldn't understand what it was. But I'm a big gamer. I used to work for Microsoft years back. I actually tested the Xbox One before it came out. I had it about 5 months before it released. And as you are, I'm a big Destiny fan. And I play Destiny 2 all the time. I have thousands of hours into that franchise. So I really like gaming quite a bit. I'm older now. I'm not as physical as I used to be, so I'm not out playing basketball like I was before. I'd probably just fall over and hurt myself. I don't do that. So mainly, I really like gaming. Always been a fan of that. It's probably my second hobby. And just, relaxing, really. I mean, honestly, the YouTube thing and comics kind of surrounds my life on pretty much everything I do now. It's pretty much 24/7, it seems like sometimes. But outside of that, I'm a big gamer. Are you on Xbox or computer or PC or
PS4? Actually, I don't have a good gaming PC, so yeah, I'm kind of old school.
Yeah, I saw some of your live streams on the Destiny 2. So
I need to work on my webcam setup. It's way across the room, but I have it in my bedroom, so it's like this gigantic gulf between me and the camera. So,
you're a hunter, right?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm a hunter as well.
Yep.
There you go.
I like to jump around and friggin' zerg a lot, so I like the fast pace.
Jump is my favorite.
I played a lot of like Call of Duty, Black Ops 3, so it kind of segues into that pretty well. But yeah, I need to do some more game stuff. It's hard because I have so much different things going on the channel. It's hard to sit down and just like play 3 hours, because every night I'm either tinkering with a video or it does. You're right, man. It starts becoming work. Yeah, I come home, I think about it before I leave work, and it's like, okay, what am I going to shoot tonight? Do I have time to shoot this? I'll be eating dinner and editing at the same time to try to get things uploaded. So yeah, it'd be hard to decompress sometimes, but yeah, cool gaming, man. Yeah, I like it. See,
I'm fortunate enough to where I'm somewhat retired. So I mean, really, this is all I do. I couldn't imagine trying to, have a full-time regular job and then do this on the side. Because I know how much it gets in your brain. You just start thinking about it. Like last month in October, I did a video every day of the week, every single day for the whole month of October. So 31 videos straight. And I'm never going to do that again. That was ridiculous. It was a lot of work. And every day I was like, I thought I got caught up. And then the next day it came, and I was like, oh man, I got to make another video. So, but it does. It definitely kind of takes a hold of you. That's pretty much what you think about. And you'll come up with an idea, and you're like writing it down. Like, okay, how do I make this work? Type thing. Because I've got a bunch of ideas. There you go. I've got a bunch of ideas for videos, from the very beginning. I've tried to do, or I've shot and I wasn't happy with them, or maybe I'll hold off and wait until there's maybe more viewers type thing, Mm-hmm. I think a lot of stuff gets overlooked, and, so there's a good time to put it out and there's a bad time to put it out. So I kind of hold off sometimes on some of the videos I do.
Yep. Well, hey, I know it's getting to be kind of long here. I know we both got things to do, but I'll wrap it up here pretty quick. Has there been anyone in your life that's really inspired you? Someone you're close to, someone who kind of pushed you to do better things in your life? Who is this person?
Well, most of us are probably all going to say our parents, and my mom has always been supportive of whatever I do. Which I greatly appreciate. I mean, she's always there, oh, what do you need type thing. Very, very supportive. My father, on the other hand, he's very supportive, but he's also, there's a difference between just supporting and then them kind of pushing you to do more things type thing. And my father kind of pushed me to do more things that I haven't done. And so I would have to go with him. And the reason why I bring him up is because when he was about my age, I'm 44 right now, I think he was 43, he totally changed his career path and decided to take a leap and just, go into business for himself. And he was basically a salesman for electronics, and, he had corporate accounts, and, very, very successful. He had a family and everything, kids, and, the great life and everything. And he decided to do his passion was television, filming, and wildlife and stuff. So he actually had a buddy that wanted to do a television show about fishing and stuff. And they literally sat out in their car one night and like, oh, this is what we want to do, and da-da-da. And they came up with this television show. And so basically they got some investors to invest in them. And my dad quit his job and, went and down this other career path. Luckily, it was a good choice, as far as financially, it really paid off. As far as like personally, with his relationships, it really didn't work out very well because my mom and him were divorced very shortly after that. I always ask my dad, I go, what was that conversation like with Mom? You telling her that you want to quit your job and make a television show about fishing all the time? And he's like, it did not go well. No. I go, yeah, I can imagine. But I admire the fact that he did it, and just kind of went for it and gave it 110%, and it paid off for him. And, and that kind of motivates me to doing this type of thing, because I literally at the same point in my life to where I'm not really doing nothing, and this isn't really a career path type thing. And then this YouTube thing pops up, and I said, well, you know what, I'm going to do this and see what happens. And I'm going to go full bore and see if it starts to pay off. And for the most part, it has. So I kind of look at that and kind of compared it to, and my dad's very proud of me for what I'm doing, and along with my mother as well. But obviously it's my parents, like I said, mother for always being supportive of whatever I'm doing, but my father for pushing me to do more stuff. I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. And hey, you always go with the safe answers too, right? Hey, hopefully that rubs off. I'm 43 myself, so maybe this would be the year, something new happens. So, okay, well, we're getting ready to sign off. So, what's coming up in the future for Bueller, both YouTube and personal? Anything interesting coming up on the near horizon?
Well, I always have new videos coming out on the channel, Comments with Bueller. There's multiple videos every week. It's almost, I get bogged down because I have so many different series that I do. That one thing I don't run out of is ideas or different videos to make. I always have plenty of things on my mind. So just check out the channel, and there'll be something there for everybody.
Cool, man. So any big vacations coming up or any other trips or anything like that?
Not this year. This year I'm kind of just relaxing the rest of the year. Then in April I'm planning on going down to Florida for a MegaCon and hanging out with a bunch of people down there. So that'll be a nice trip down to the East Coast. Never really been to the East Coast. Always been to on the West Coast guy myself, so I look forward to doing that.
And tons of the YouTube comic creation communities down there in Florida, in Central Florida area, so my old stomping grounds. But
yeah, there's a lot of people down there. That's kind of why I'm going down there. So.
I'm sure you have a lot of cameos in your videos there. Well,
yeah.
Well, Mr. Bueller, I really want to thank you for appearing today on the show and kind of letting viewers of both, not only my viewers, but your viewers kind of get the behind-the-scenes look at you. And you got a real inspiring story, and I think it's a good testament that anyone can do it. You just got to really go whole hog. You got to go full bore. Don't let adversity kind of slow you down. You start off slow, and then you start to skyrocket, and just keep nose to the grindstone. Eventually, it'll pay off for you. So, yeah, I just once again, I want to thank you so much for spending the time, and especially after my technical difficulties that put us way behind from getting this started.
We all run into those, trust me.
so anyway, best of luck for all your endeavors in the future, and only great things going to happen for your channel, and I expect to see you hit 20,000 next year. So unless you have anything further to add, we'll go ahead and cut on out of here.
That's it, man. Thank you so much for having me on. This is great. Like I said, you were one of the first people to watch my channels all the way to a 300 subscriber entry way back in the day. And now we're over almost at 8,000 subscribers probably within a month, maybe. I don't know. But appreciate all the support, and This is a blast, man. I had fun.
All right, man. We'll keep on trucking. So thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. I'll have some more interviews coming up in the interview series, including a director probably soon of another of the Friday the 13th movies. And I'm still working on the John Beatty interview. He says he's going to do it with me, so we just got to coordinate times and cameras and all that good stuff. So once again, Bueller, thanks for being with us, and stay tuned for more of the variety content that some of us have actually watched on my show. So until next time, this is Genome and Bueller